everyone, and welcome to our week of animation. I'm so excited for this week. I have learned so much about animation, and I'm excited to share it with you guys. Animation is so fun, so I know this week is going to be a blast. So today we are going to start with the type of animation that
here's Michaela right now, Jess. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Okay, you're good.
She's signing on right now, just FYI. Okay.
Okay, good morning, Michaela.
Morning. Hi.
So animation started long before movies ever were a thing. We have been trying to do animation for like forever. So animation is basically capturing still images or like drawings and then capturing the movement, okay? And animation works because of this phenomenon called the persistence of vision. So our eyes, when we see an image, our brain holds that image in our mind for like a little bit longer than we actually see it. Okay, so when we see one image and then the next image right after it, our brain kind of blurs those two images together. So it makes it look like that image is moving. So if I have like a stick figure and his arm is straight in this image, and then in this image it bends up, it'll make like my brain thinks that it's actually moving. So it's kind of cool that we have that ability, because without that ability, animation wouldn't exist. So that's how animation works, is taking one still image that's not actually moving, putting another one and another one and another one and another one, and when we see them all together, it's like they're moving. So it's kind of like magic. So in the early years of movies and animation, anything was incredible to see, because no one had ever seen it before. So some of the earliest movies was like a man walking down the street or the train pulling into a station. So any ordinary event was amazing. So when you do your animations this week, it doesn't have to be complicated or this grand idea. It can be very simple and you'll still get the magic of it. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about two different animation contraptions. Okay, so the first one is called a zoetrope. And this was like a little drum. And then you guys can see the images were set inside the drum. And you would look through these little slots. And the drum would turn. So you would see little blurps of these images on the inside. As it turned, it made it look like it was moving. So we're actually going to do that today. You guys can build your own. I'm so excited. It is so fun and it totally works. So the things you guys are going to need today, if you guys can find this like black paper that has like little slots in it.
This one?
Yep, that one. And then you're also going to want these strips of paper. They're like folded in half. And then when you open it up, there's little stickers on it. You have two of them so that you can do a couple if you want.
Like this? Even though
So you should have 2 sheets of them. Naveen and Leica, I don't think I told your mom to print 2 for each of you. I don't know if she printed these or not.
I can print them now. Tell them I can print them. I can, she's gonna print them now.
Okay, and then print just one of these for them. We'll also need this today.
Jess, is that in the curriculum or no?
No,
That's separate.
it's the separate file I sent you.
Okay, let me forward that to your mom, kids. I can't remember if I forwarded it or not.
I didn't get it. Let me check.
Let me do that.
Okay.
Let me do it right now. I can do it. Like, okay.
Is this,
Thank you.
is this right even though it has?
Yep, that's perfect. Yeah, mine has tape on one side, on the other side. So it's just like holding it together. So you need those. And then you'll also want this plate that has like the string attached. One of those.
It's in the bottom.
Perfect. And then you have a piece of paper that has a circle drawn on it. It's kind of a hard, like a stiffer paper.
Oh, I see it. Like this?
Yep, that one. You'll also want this image too. You'll want your little cork and your corks and this like stick. Cork and the skewer. And then you also have, yep, those. And you can, if you want, go ahead and stick the stick in skewer with the pointy side. Just be careful not to poke yourself. You don't want to poke yourself. And then be careful with this. This is a thumbtack. You'll also need your thumbtack today.
It's right. This one, Emma.
You'll want a pencil to draw with.
Like this?
She wants it this way or this way?
And then you'll also want your crayons or your markers, or both. Yeah, perfect. I think you should have a black marker in there, which is like going to be most important. Black crayon or your black marker. Okay, you guys ready?
I need it for my black marker.
Oh, and you'll also need your tape. You have a little roll of tape in there. Mine's big, but you have a little one.
Get this out. Can we just like get like a black marker, but the one that is not in the kit?
Yeah, you can definitely find a black marker like a Sharpie, or those ones that we use for comic book making would be perfect, Madeline. If you guys took our comic book making class, you should have a black marker. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, I'm going to bend my camera down so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so first thing we need to do is we need to tape this into a circle. Okay, and the easiest way to do that, you're going to want the tape to be on the same side as where the other tape already is. So I'm going to get a strip of tape. I'm going to place it on the edge, one of the edges. And when I do that, I'm don't want to cover my little slot.
It's just,
Yes, Madeline.
I don't have any blue tape.
You should have a different color tape. Yours is smaller. Yeah, that orange tape is perfect. Yeah, everyone has like a different color. So if you notice, one side, the slot's further away from the edge, and the other side, the slot's kind of close to the edge. So I put my tape on the side where the slot's closer to the edge, so I know that I'm not going to cover it. So I'm going to make sure that it's on the same side as where my other tape is. And I'm just going to start with that one side. I think it's easier to do it this way. And it can go beyond the edges. We'll just cut it off when we're done. My tape's wider than your tape, so this may not be as big of a problem. But because my tape's so wide, I have to be careful.
I just sent the email with the stuff that Naveen and Micah need.
Like I need, okay.
Yeah, so let me know when they get it. Make sure they get it okay. Okay.
Okay.
Will do. I'll print it out right now.
Okay, so once you get tape on one end, then I'm just going to curve it around, and I'm going to line up my edges so that they're meeting perfectly. And then once they meet up perfectly, I can kind of press down on that to make the tape stick to the other side. So I don't want to flatten these areas, just press right where that seam is. Okay, and that should create our circle. And if your tape went over the edge, you can just take some and cut them off, or you can fold it down, whatever you prefer. Okay, so now on the outside, I don't see any tape, and my tape is on the inside.
We made a mistake.
Okay, I'm going to set that aside. And then we're also going to tape together these.
This,
Yes, ma'am.
we made a little mistake because we didn't know we had to put it in the inside.
That's fine, Madeline. It's okay. If it's on the outside, that works. You'll just see every once in a while some color, and it'll still work. It'll be fine.
Okay.
Did I tell you guys needed scissors today? I forgot to tell you scissors. If you could grab some scissors. Okay, so I'm going to, there's 3 of them on here. I'm just going to cut 2 of them. So I'm going to decide which one I want to keep. So I'm going to cut just these top 2 because I think 3 will be too tall. You could do just 1 if you wanted to. I'm going to cut along, the edge, the bottom edge of one of these, all the way across. Okay, so now I have 2 of these cut out. And then I'm going to cut along the top. So I just have my images and no white paper. You guys see that? So it's like a strip. I'm going to do that with both pieces of paper. And if you look at these images, they're really cool because they just change just a little bit on each frame. So this top one is someone, 2 people dancing, and this bottom one, his head's going down, and then it like becomes a ball, and then goes around the backside, and then comes back up, pops back up on his head. So you can really be super creative and make things happen that wouldn't really happen in real life with an animation. And then this one here is of a little girl jump roping. And that's really fun too. Okay, so I'm going to make sure and cut out both papers. So I have 2 strips.
Are the files big files or are they pretty small?
I thought they were pretty small.
Okay, because we've not got my email yet, but I'll just refresh and then I'll check them out for the kids in a minute once I get it.
Sorry, and Nadine and Micah.
No big deal at all.
I had to go to FedEx to get mine printed because my printer is also acting up today.
Oh no.
I know. So there's problems everywhere. Okay. You get 2 strips cut out. I'm going to turn them over so the image is down. And I'm going to kind of line up the 2 edges on the small, short edge. So they're perfectly lined up. And then I'm going to place a piece of tape over that seam to hold them together. Now I have a long strip. Okay, and then we also have to make this into a circle. So I'm going to do the same thing that we did with our black paper. And I'm going to place a piece of tape on one edge. And then I'm going to wrap it around and line up the other edge with it. And they can overlap just slightly because there's like this little white border. But you don't have to. Okay, so now this, oops, you know what? I did it wrong. Don't copy me, Madeline. Hold on. This image needs to be on the inside, not on the outside. Okay, so when you turn it, make sure the images are on the inside and then line up the edges. That way. Now the images are on the inside.
Did we still tape it at the back?
Yes, just still tape it on the back. So you should have 2 places where there's tape, and your images should be on the inside. And I think this is a little long for our zoetrope. So I'm going to ask you guys to actually make it a little smaller. Let's see how much smaller it needs to be. Maybe cut off like 2 images before you tape it together. Let's try that.
Tape off.
Sorry, Madeline. Yeah, if you cut off 2 little images, it'll fit.
Take it off.
With that, just many tape off.
Yeah, it's a little too long, so cut off 2 of your little images. Were you able to get it printed, Naveen and Leica?
No, haven't gotten the file yet. So
That's weird. Let me just resend it. I'm sorry about that. Give me just a minute.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, just cut off 2, and then you can go ahead and tape the edges.
This is very confusing.
And the images should be on the inside, Madeline, so flip it the other way.
I just resent it. It looked like it went through. Let me know if you got it.
Great. I will keep an eye out for it. Sometimes it just takes a little while, especially with attachments.
Yeah, I get that.
I just got it. I'm printing it right now.
Awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Okay, good. How are you guys doing? Joaquin, how are you doing?
Good.
Okay. Let me know if you need any help. Michaela, you're good?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our plate. We're going to place our black paper on our plate. And then our string is in the middle. And then we're going to place our images down inside our black little circle. So now it looks like that. And now it looks like this vintage zoetrope.
Yeah.
Okay, now this is where the magic happens. Okay, so you're just gonna pull up your string, lift up your string, and you guys can twist up your plate a little bit. I don't know if you can kind of see inside of mine.
Oh, yeah.
My paper is kind of covering a little bit of my hole. I even cut those images in half, but you look through your little squares and the image moves. Is it working? Is it so cool?
Yeah.
Then have two of them in there so you can kind of look at one and look at the other. So yeah, you just hold it up to your eye and then it will spin back the other way, and it works whichever way it's spinning.
That is awesome.
Isn't that awesome? So they, a guy named William Homer invented this in 1834. That's a long time ago. That's almost 200 years ago.
200.
And then they started making these where they had like mirrors on the inside and it would reflect and project it onto a screen somehow. So one of the most famous zoetrope images are of a galloping horse. So there was a photographer named Edward Moorbridge, and he was a photographer and he learned how to capture images right back to back within like seconds. And so then they put these images in a zoetrope and it looked like the horse was running, even though it's just one still image after another. But because of that phenomenon we talked about with the persistence of vision, where we hold that image in our brain for a little bit, all those images blended together and it looked like it was moving. So it's kind of cool, huh?
Yeah.
Naveen and Leica, you guys will get yours soon, I'm sure. Your mom helping you. Did she get it printed? Okay, perfect. And these strips are for you to draw your own image on it. So one thing that is important is when you draw your images, it's just going to be a small change and it can be really simple. Like it could just be like a ball moving around in different places, just a little bit at a time. But one thing that's important is to go back over your drawings with some black marker. So these were ones that I drew, and you can see it kind of starts where the flower's closed and it starts to open, and then it's all the way open, and then it starts to close back up again. So these images are cyclical, meaning that there's no beginning and there's no end. So whatever you do has to continue going and going and going forever, kind of like an infinity. So if you look at these images, there's no beginning and there's no end. They kind of blend together. So one thing I did that helped was I started with what I wanted to look like first, and I put that in my first frame. And then I drew what I wanted it to look like at the peak when it was opened all the way, and I put that right here. And then again, I put almost the end again. And then I just drew the ones in between to kind of connect them. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Might be kind of a complicated idea. And one thing you can do, yeah, Leica.
On ours, it's X.
Oh yes, that's a good question. So that X is there, so you don't draw on it. You would just take those things together and cover that X the other way. So you would just put your last frame over that X and tape it. So mine also has that too. So I drew one, but I realized it was too big. So I just X'd it out. Right, it's the right size. So you really can do whatever you want. I used a quarter to keep my circle the same size, so I didn't have to keep drawing a circle over and over again. So you guys can use things to help you draw the same thing again. So it can really be super simple. It could just be like a line that moves, or a line that bends down and then back up again. So these are for you to experiment with, okay? And before we start drawing, I wanted to show you another contraption, and it's got a weird name, but it's called a phenokistoscope. A phenokistoscope. Okay, and it's kind of the same concept as our zoetrope, except it's going to spin this way instead of spinning in our drum. Okay, so to put this together, we're just going to cut out the circle with our scissors.
Do we cut out the small areas?
Yeah, so you will cut out these little notches as well. These will act in the same way as our little slots in our zoetrope.
Okay.
So after I cut it out, then I'm going to cut out all these little white notches. And the easiest way I found to do that is to cut on one side of the notch, like that. Here, I'll bring my camera down. And then cut on the other side of the notch. And then you take that little piece in the middle and bend it up, and then cut it off. So I'm going to cut on one side of the notch and the other side of the notch. And then I'm going to bend it up and cut it off at the base. And then I have these little see-through little notch areas. And this is an actual vintage one. It's real, a real one they used to have way back in the days. Naveen and Leica, were you able to get your zoetrope images cut out? Yeah.
I'm trying to cut mine out, but whenever I cut the small ones, it doesn't work with these scissors.
It doesn't work with those scissors? Are they just maybe not sharp enough?
Maybe.
Were you guys able to look at your zoetrope spinning?
Yes.
Awesome. Did you like it? Was it so
Yeah, it
cool?
came out well.
Yeah, it's really fun. Did those work better, Madeline?
Huh?
Are those working better?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It also helps sometimes if I like turn my scissors, it won't cut as well. So I try to keep them straight up and down to cut. Okay. Now, after you get it all cut out, you're going to put it on your paper that has the circle drawn on it. The circle's a little smaller than your wheel. So just ignore the circle. I thought they would come out the same size, but they didn't. Yes, Leica.
My wheel is actually smaller than my circle.
Your wheel's smaller? Okay, yeah, that's probably because your guys' got printed. So it doesn't matter what size your wheel is. Mine's bigger than your guys's because I got mine printed at a different place. So no, it gets printed a different size, apparently, wherever you go. Okay, you can do it on the other side, Naveen, or on the same side as your circle. That's fine. But you're going to place your circle down on that hard paper, and we're going to trace around this image. This will allow us to use the zoetrope several times for several different images. Anytime you want to do a new image, you would cut out another one of these and put it on top of your cardboard. Because it's going to be spinning, we want something that's going to have a little more structure to it. Because just this regular printer paper is going to be flimsy. It's not going to bend if we try it.
So we're going to use this paper with the circle, and then we're going to put This?
Yes.
And
Yes.
the-
But just ignore the circle that I drew on there because it's not the right size. But you can just lay your image on that paper and trace out this image.
okay. Also where it has small things.
Yes, and all the little notches. Yeah,
Okay.
so it'll look like this when you're all done.
Can I turn it the other way?
Yeah, you can turn it the other way, that's fine. A lot of cutting today, but tomorrow we won't do any cutting. Well, we'll do a little, but not as much as today.
Okay.
First for cutting out so much stuff today. So this Phenokistoscope was also invented around the same time as the zoetrope by Joseph Plateau. And so he also discovered the same phenomenon about our eye where it will blend images together. Now, these were like the first ideas of animation, that you could actually make something that wasn't real look like it was really moving. Okay, so when you're all done tracing that out, then we're going to cut that one out too, with all the little notches as well. So I think it's easier to cut the whole circle out first and then do the notches afterwards. Perfect, Madeline. That looks great. Cut it out. And I'm going to do the same thing with my notches. I'm going to cut on one side of them and then the other side. I'm going to peel it back and cut it off at the bottom. Naveen, is your mom helping you with all the cutting?
No. I babysitting.
Okay, okay, perfect. Someone's helping. Good. Bless you.
Thank you.
Everyone has had allergies lately.
Yep.
Okay, guys, now after you get cut out, take your time. But after I get it cut out, I'm just going to line up my two images on top of each other. Line up the notches and the edges. It's okay if they're not absolutely perfect, but you want to make sure that you have a little notch to see through. That's probably the most important part. And then I'm just laying it down on the table. And I'm going to take a piece of tape. I'm going to make like a little loop. So I kind of curl one end down and stick the other end on top of it. That kind of makes this little loop. So it's sticky on both sides. And I'm just going to put that down in between my two papers to kind of hold them together. I'm going to do 2 loops, one on the top and one on the bottom. The one down here as well, on the opposite side. It's okay if all the edges are not attached, just so they kind of hold together.
Where did you put tape at?
I put it like in between, just right on the edge here. And I just made a loop out of tape so that it was sticky on both sides. So it would stick to the top and the bottom. So to make a loop, you just fold one end in, like that, and then you fold the other one on top. So they kind of stick together.
Where the sticky part is at?
And then, yeah, you just lift up your edge and you're just gonna stick it right in the middle like a sandwich. And I put 2, put one on one side and one on the other side. Okay, and then you're going to need your corkscrew and your skewer, and if you haven't already done so, you can just stick the skewer into the cork on this flat side, or this rounded side, this long side. And this cork is kind of hard. I wasn't able to get mine in there very far, but it's holding just fine. Okay, and then you're also going to need your thumbtack. Be careful with it. And you're just gonna carefully stick your thumbtack into the center here, right in the middle. So kind of make sure your fingers are out of the way on the other side. And just stick it through. The thumbtack's right in the middle. And then you can stick your cork onto the other end. So stick your thumbtack through your cork.
I don't, me and Naveen don't have a thumbtack.
You guys don't have a thumbtack? Uh-oh.
Then I don't have one.
They're kind of clear. Do you guys have one at home at all? You know where one is? So,
So what's on the bottom of it?
so I have my skewer into my corkscrew, and my corkscrew is stuck to my thumbtack, which is put through my wheel in the center. And it makes this wheel. And the way these things work is you look into a mirror and you stand in front of the mirror and the image is facing the mirror, and you're going to like keep your eyes kind of at the top of this wheel to where your eyes will look through these slots. Kind of like our zoetrope, where you looked through these little slots, you're going to look through these slots into the mirror, and the reflection of the mirror, you'll be able to see the image moving. You guys can try that out once we're all done. And if you guys want to, after we're done, you guys can go ahead and draw some images for your zoetrope. That's what these are for. But you don't have to if you don't want to, but you can experiment with it. You can do color, just like our other images have color on them. I would outline in black marker, because if you just do pencil, it kind of gets blurred and you can't really see it. Perfect, Madeline, that looks perfect. Okay, so maybe think of some fun images that rotate around and are seamless, like they're cyclical. Okay, so that's all we have for today. I hope you guys had fun and that this was like really a cool experiment for you guys. It was for me. I thought it was very magical to find these, but these used to be really popular toys back in the day.
And you guys, just let us know if you have any questions, okay? If you're still working, just text or call, okay?
All right. Okay. Yeah. And just go try it out in the mirror, and then we'll talk about it tomorrow.
Awesome. Okay. Bye, everybody.
All right.
Bye.